Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sights on Sinnoh, episode 43, as we travel through Battle Dimension and on our way to Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. This week, I'm once again joined by Greg. How are you
Hello,
doing?
hello. I'm good. It's raining very hard here,
Oh,
which is
okay.
needed, but
Mm-hmm.
like it's a big storm. So there's no thunder and lightning, which makes it less exciting. It's just a lot of rain.
Mm,
Luckily, you can't hear it in this room. Otherwise, it'd be like,
beautiful.
you might need to reschedule. But no, it's just very, very, very wet outside. My dogs do not like going out there.
Oh, okay. Not a fan of baths either, or just
Nope,
all the
they
rain?
don't like getting wet.
Gotcha. Okay. No rain here, unfortunately. And I think we're supposed to run out of water in like a year from now, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, I'll figure out how I can get Kyogre here or something. Um, Unfortunately, there's no Kyogre in this episode, though, as we dive into episode 18 and 19 of Diamond and Pearl Battle Dimension, to be specific.
Battle Dimension Pokemon.
Johto! It's always what I want to say, but that's not right.
No, Johto is
Sin,
not
oh!
what it was.
Because we actually have a baby evolution from a past region, not Johto, though. So we'll dive into that in just a sec. As this episode is titled The Bells Are Singing, and the blurb reads, it's another day on the road for our heroes. Ash and Gligar practice, while Dawn and Baniri study the latest chic fashion trends. They're approached by a Chingling, one of three Chingling that belong to Francesca, the Pokemon Magician. So I'm sure you noticed this, but no cold opening.
Yes, thankfully, no cold opening. It's just the show.
Mm-hmm.
Not a cold opening in sight. I very happy about just getting right into the thick of things.
Yeah, none of those messy appetizers. Just go right for the main course here.
Main course. I mean, it's not even an appetizer. Because they take it away and then they bring it back out halfway through the meal. That's how they did these things wrong. Very dumb.
And in this case, we do have a Ash's newest Pokemon Gligar preparing to train, just like in general. How do you feel about the new addition to the team here?
I mean, they had to have it because Gligar gets an evolution this gen, so
Mm-hmm.
and the only person that will probably evolve is Ash, so it makes sense. It's fine. Like
Mm.
I like Gligar's fine. It's
Yeah,
round out the team a little.
I always find it interesting when they catch Pokemon from past regions,
Yeah.
and in this one, it definitely just makes sense because Gligar has more relevance now within evolution, and we can all kind of guess even where that's going because in its debut, we also see that evolution as well. So I think it's nice that they're not trying to bury the hatchet. That's going to be a big
Right.
reveal. It's just like, yeah, this you can figure it out pretty easily going forward. And as they're in the middle of practicing, they pull out a magazine, Dawn specifically, as Ash tries to deflect from the fact that Gligar almost crashed into her. And it's Poke Chic, which is a magazine that has apparel for different Pokemon. As far as I know, this is the first time we've heard of it, and there's a great Krogunk outfit in there. Let me tell
Mm-hmm.
you. Another one I think is Delcatty. Uh, and then Dawn is sure to point out this questionable one for Pikachu. I, I I mean I don't even know if that's considered fashion, honestly. Like I don't know how
Well,
that.
I mean, they're playing fast and loose with fashion in these things.
Yeah, it's questionable at best there. But as they're just chatting away, is where we hear the Chingling come out of the bushes. Well, actually, this is the interesting thing. So she talks about how she designed a vest
Yes.
that her mother then made and sent to her.
So when,
I
like,
mean,
so
uh
she, like designed it, emailed it, Poketext it, What? And then her mom was like, "Okay, I'm still not going to come visit you. I'll send it in the mail."
Well,
Like,
my assumption is that, as we saw in her first contest in Jubilife City, that's where she got her contest outfit mailed to her. So, since we're just coming from Salacion, I feel like their mom just sent it to that contest center, like that contest hall as well, for her to pick it up. But it is a little weird
it
that
is
it hasn't
weird.
come up until this point. So,
I mean, and
I'll give you
her
that.
mom, her mom is pretty hands off.
Hey, she moves in mysterious ways, okay? As all mothers do, let's be
Like
real.
her Glammeow.
Her Glamio needs more of a backstory. I want to know what happened there.
It's just, one day we will get the Dawn's Mother anime that we've all been craving.
Oh, that'd be
I
great.
also have to mention how much I hate Chingling's name.
Yes, we talked about this briefly before.
It bothers
I
me
don't know
so
if you
much.
want to go more into it or just
No,
like
it's
okay,
just like make better choices.
sure. Um, and as Baniri's trying on this vest, it suddenly stops for a moment and raises its ear a bit, which I think is a great detail. As everyone's like, "What's happening with Baniri?" And then out of the bushes just springs Chingling, where Baniri scans it with the dex. And the reason I love that moment is because it's showing clearly that Baniri has really good hearing, being a rabbit.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
never address it. It's just like, oh, there we go.
Well, it's got big ears.
Yeah,
Well,
better use them for something.
yeah.
Chingling pops out and it starts just playing with everyone, trying to spin. Dawn's finally the one who like kind of settles it as it tries to wrap around her neck. And out comes Francesca, who's looking for this lost Chingling, and her career of choice is Pokemon Magician.
It's okay.
I mean, of all the things, why not?
I still feel that most of the Pokemon world is how this universe decides to take care of their children without having to send them to school. We're gonna make elaborate plots to keep y'all busy,
Right. It's like
and you can be whatever because you don't have to make money. We'll give you all this fake money called Pokebucks, and this
Pokebucks.
is just another person who's like, I guess I'm a magician. Is that a thing? Can that be a thing? And they're all like, yeah,
We
it's a thing now.
I know we mentioned Johto in the beginning, but do you remember the Johto episode where there was a witch? Like a sorceress?
Vaguely.
Okay.
remember this.
The end of the episode, they turned Ash into a Pikachu. And I, as a child, I was like scarred because that's how they ended the episode. And then the next one, they show him turning back into a human. But I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how does this work? Like, is it just random magic that's like not even related to anything else?
I mean, they are fast and loose with a lot of rules.
Sure.
They're just like, hey, we're
Yeah.
just gonna do what we're gonna do. I mean, it's close to the Hex Girl class, which is actually in the
Mm.
games.
Hmm.
So, I mean, you can't really call in America a Hex Girl because they're gonna be like, I have no idea what that is. I love
Yeah.
that Francesca in the Bulbapedia is a Pokemon magician and a character of the day because
Yeah.
this is it for her boring plotline.
Because as we discover after Brock is promptly dragged away by Krogunk, is that she's traveling around with these Chingling as part of her performance. But this Chingling in particular is a bit spoiled and kind of just does what it wants, apparently.
It was weird that they said spoiled because it's just
Yeah.
excited to see everybody
Mm-hmm.
and it just like jumps up for hugs.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard to say that, oh, that one's spoiled because she doesn't reward that behavior. She does actively try to stop it. It's just like, no, it's just out of control. It's not spoiled. You've just
Mm.
not trained it.
It's just very energetic at most. But she has trained it enough, apparently, as she puts on a little show for our heroes, basically,
Mm-hmm.
with a table and a cloth that she puts over it to slowly reveal one Chingling at a time. And I have no idea how she does it, but it looks like a pretty nice sleight of hand that she has going on here. And what she's done to make this a bit more unique is add a musical element to her performance.
Yes.
And
Which becomes the theme for the show.
yes.
Can Chingling learn teleport? Because that would make
Oh,
they
I
could.
don't think it can. Yeah.
I don't know if Chingling can learn anything.
Chingling is uproar, and that's most of what
That's
I
pretty
can.
it.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
But they do learn a nice 3-part harmony, as Greg pointed out, and continue to do that throughout the episode. Team Rocket catches on, as we'll get to them in a second. And they kind of accompany her little performance as she does a hat trick to show a Pidgey come out, which is another fun reference to like a magic show that you'd see in real life. And as she's trying to get to the final part of her act, Chingling kind of jumps up from joy and ruins her performance by pulling the end of her wand out, showing a flower that she was hiding in there.
Yeah.
So overall, not a bad magic show, I'd say, for like just something they put together for this episode. And it just kind of addresses that, hey, she just needs help with training her Chingling. Is her main issue. She's got the magic part down. I'm glad that it wasn't like, oh, and she's also trying to figure out her job.
Yeah, I mean, she knows how to do magic,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine.
Yeah, like it's very clearly an innocent kind of performance thing that she's got going on.
Then they make a reference that made me go, what? Which was, oh yeah, when Pokemon battle, they mature.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I kind of see that as maybe like they level up, they gain experience.
It was just like, huh. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call that.
I wonder if it's just a
maturing.
translation thing, but
Yeah,
because of
it could have been. It struck me as so odd that like, oh, just make it fight, and it gets older.
In the very literal sense of mature, right?
Make it fight, and it'll calm down because now it knows that you'll put it in harm's way. You'll have some creature beat it to death if it doesn't behave.
I thought you were gonna say it'll be aware of its mortality.
I mean that too. I mean, not that they do, but I just thought that was the strangest phrasing to say that it'll mature, not like it'll gain experience or it will get its energy out or it will start to learn to listen to you or you'll get in sync. It was like, no, you battle it so that it matures. It just was like, okay, sure.
I thought that's where they were heading. That seemed like the simplest little answers. Like it's gonna let out all its excess energy by just doing some battling. But apparently she's never battled before. So the way that they're going to help her here is showing Francesca a quick little spar between Baniri and Gligar. This is again in Ash's effort to train Gligar to battle, as he's not really used it thus far. And Francesca and Chingling are tensely waiting and watching from the sides. And this is a pretty simple battle. To start, we just have Gligar dodge a Dizzy Punch from Baniri, and then come in for an X-Scissor, which I believe then Baniri does not dodge, actually, but is able to come back with and use Bounce on Gligar. And Francesca goes, oh, they're so powerful.
They did nothing to each other.
Yeah, they like barely hit each other, but
they barely did anything.
She's been sheltered very clearly.
Clearly, because she has never had to have her Pokemon defend her from the wilds
Nothing in real life has prepared her for this. She has all the magic in the world, but real life, she can't deal with that. Dawn is then angered by the fact that Gligar uses Sand Attack and gets sand all over Baniri's vest. And it's just like, I'm just battling here. Like, don't get mad at me. So Dawn then goes over to Baniri and is like, yeah, let's just take that off when you battle. So they acknowledge it. I guess that's kind of it there. And they continue the battle with an Ice Beam from Baniri, which knocks Gligar straight out of the sky. But it then crashes down, frees itself from the ice very quickly, and goes in for a Steel Wing, which makes contact. And then Brock just says, okay, and that's it. That's a good little demonstration for Chingling. And then they're like, all right, now let's put Chingling into battle.
now that you've watched a mock battle,
do
it for real.
Yes. All right, you're going to war, kid. Get ready.
Get in there. Start maturing.
She is trying to remember what moves it has, which she remembers are Confusion, Astonish, and Hidden Power. Ash brings out his Turtwig, and they immediately don't have a great amount of control as it starts trying to swing off Turtwig, who is like, what do I do here? Do I attack?
He's like, why do you bring me out for the worst battles?
Yeah, Turtwig's like been
you
sidelined.
Ignore me, and then you pull me out to do this garbage?
You taught me Energy Ball for this?
For this?
Come on.
We suffered through Energy Ball for this?
Yeah, and we don't even use it here. He just uses Razor Leaf, which obliterates this Chingling.
Like, is it... I mean... This is still the generation when they hatch at level 5.
No, they hatch at level 1 here.
Did they hatch level 1 here? Did they switch? Was that Gen 4 that switched it?
Yes, because that's the first time I bred, and then I bred back in Gen 3, and I was like, why are they at level 5?
Yeah, level 5 is where it was at.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
This level 1 garbage. Come out knowing stuff. Get out of that egg.
Hey,
you're ignoring your egg experience.
Egg moves were a thing in Gen 3. Let me tell you.
They had to learn it somewhere. They got that experience and came out as level 5.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'll accept that. And as they go to like check on this completely unconscious Chingling, they all fall into a pit trap.
When was that dug?
In the last like 10 minutes, apparently.
Because there wasn't a lot of time when they saw the magic show and said, "Hey, let's steal those things."
And then the battles, and now
the battles,
and they're not like even waiting there to see it. They're already in a balloon.
They're already out. They're out. These are the fastest people in the world. Or we grossly underestimate how long those battles take.
Oh man, they just had to like prep. They went out to lunch. They came back. They chatted. The whole shebang.
There's a whole segment missing.
It's in the deleted scenes for this season.
Yeah. Then they take Chingling, and then the Razor Leaf doesn't work because they predict. What's amazing is the Pokemon they can predict to safeguard their nets against, but then they don't predict the other ones. Like, we know Razor. This is Razor Leaf proof, but it's not Ice Beam proof.
Yeah,
which is like, how did you know?
I mean, they probably go. Razor Leaf is probably the most common thing they face. So I'm like, that's like the safe insurance.
Thing they face is Thunderbolt,
but for nets,
yes.
No, Thunderbolt doesn't cut the net. Okay, make an Iron Tail proof. Okay, I don't see Pikachu like flying up there though. Razor Leaf's got that range.
Pikachu managed to fly 1,000,000 times in this anime and cut things that you wouldn't believe. Plus, there's a Pidgey there. He's ridden on the back of Pidgey before.
A Pidgey, not Pidgey.
Oh, come on.
Very important.
It's a magic Pidgey that can teleport. So let's be real.
Oh yes, that's true. Why does it just teleport up there? Hey, this Chingling can also teleport.
Can get out. Hold the magic tablecloth.
It's unconscious. Yeah, maybe it needs the cloth. That's the secret.
The secret's in the cloth.
Baniri hits Ice Beam, and the Chingling gets free. And then, okay, this is this is a hilariously like fun but also complicated sequence where they work together to blast off Team Rocket.
Yeah.
First, Brock sends out Happini to catch the Chingling, which I'm like, I feel like you want a bigger Pokemon because
I mean,
sure,
Chingling's tiny.
sure,
Happini is super strong.
yes. I mean, just like in reach, like Happini can't. What if it can't move? Like, what? It doesn't have the arm to reach out and grab it. But then Brock's like, no, Happini needs more experience. So it climbs onto Baniri's back. Baniri uses bounds and then just flings Happini in the air to use bounds. It's adorable. It's like unnecessary, but I love it.
Yeah, it's absolutely unnecessary.
Um,
and then they're like, oh, surely Chingling has matured.
well, before this, another fun part I want to call out is that as Team Rocket blasts off, they try to do a 3-part harmony. And
Right.
Dawn just is like, "You're flat."
You're flat, which is probably the only funny joke in this entire episode. Because that was the timing and that was really good. Also,
Yeah.
I feel like somebody just threw that in.
Oh yeah, sure.
It sounds like such an actor ad lib.
Well, they do it a few more times though, so I
Yeah.
don't know if maybe they like retroactively threw it in, but
No, I mean it has to be written in because they would the voice actor would not have heard the other tracks, but it does feel
That's
like
true.
an ad lib.
Yeah, exactly. But now Chigling's free, and you'd think it might have matured after being kidnapped, but hey, it was unconscious, so
and it's not.
It does wake up here, and they say like you've been through a lot, and immediately just tackles Ash to the ground. So they try another magic trick, and I don't know why.
I think it was like, oh, maybe this time you'll do it right. And I feel like I blacked out because I don't remember Team Rocket creating the Mecha Chingling. It is very possible that I blacked out and just missed that whole introduction. But I remember looking and going, what?
No, this is you were completely conscious, unlike that Chingling. As our troublesome Chingling like hops down, Francesca picks it up and turns around to see a new Chingling in its place, and Ash is like, you didn't have 4, right? And she's like, nope, but let's try a harmony here. So they try it, and this imposter Chingling just lets out the worst sound ever.
Yes.
And Team Rocket, who's hiding nearby in the bushes, just kind of panics and is like, oh, we didn't think about the singing part.
You know, the thing we've been doing this entire episode.
Yeah, I mean, oh no, maybe there's just technical issues. Technology, you know? Now that the Chingling is in its position and everyone's trying to see what's happening there, I think Ash and Brock are like, hey, that looks kind of weird. Like, does it look off to you? So Team Rocket panics and they're like, quick, smoke screen.
Yeah.
So honestly, not the worst of plans on their part. Like, I feel like they could just skip the pit trap.
Yeah, they could have just done this plan because this plan actually worked.
Exactly. As all the smoke's covering everything up, they put on these special goggles, which I was like, oh, okay,
right, they're serious.
Yeah. So they're able to see what's going on in the smoke, and they manage to grab all the Chingling, so very effective. And once it clears, our heroes are like, oh shoot, there's no Chingling, except Francesca did manage to save one.
Yes, good job.
But
good job, trainer.
Yeah, she managed to grab the imposter Chingling, unfortunately, and just chucks it to the side with a great sound effect.
Way to know your Pokemon. This is why your Chingling doesn't listen to you, Francesca.
She doesn't really get to know her Pokemon. She sees them as props.
They're just there to make her look good. And this next section starts the thing that I am growing semi uncomfortable with, not uncomfortable, but slightly annoyed
Okay.
with is like this episode and the next episode. They're really seeming to try to make Jessie and James main characters and not side
Oh.
characters. And they do this better in later seasons and later episodes, but it always feels like after the first season where they would just pop up and they would do things every once in a while, it was like, well, we have 5 more characters. No, we have 3 characters who we're apparently not going to do much with Ash, Dawn, and Brock, so let's add 2 more characters that we're not going to do a lot with, Jessie and James. And it felt, in particular the next episode, it feels really weird focus change to be like, oh, also we're gonna start following these people and we're gonna start showing their emotional stuff, the criminals and comic relief. Yeah, we're gonna focus on them a lot now too. And it feels like, okay, make up your mind, Diamond and Pearl, what do you want to be?
Yeah, I like them, but I don't like the fact that they switch between them so much.
Yeah, it's like I don't hate it when it's a full episode. Like, if you're gonna make the choice, like, give them an arc. Like, focus on Jesse and James, and what they keep doing is they're splitting focus a lot, and it doesn't serve anybody well. And I think this is sort of like the start of, I would say start, but like it's really beginning to get noticeable in this season when they decided to make Jessie a part of the contests. That they're like, okay, well, we need to like actually make people more aware of them. I'm like, they have been there from the beginning, and you've done nothing with them, and it feels really weird to have the funny antagonist crew that's really there for comic relief to also now be like, oh, we're going to do emotional stuff with them too.
I'm probably more open to it because I think that it doesn't interfere a lot with what's going on with our main heroes. Like, they're kind of there as well and doing their own thing, but it's not like there's a direct conflict between it. So that's why I kind of enjoy these breaks from what's Dawn doing, what's Ash doing. We spent a ton with Ash and Dawn in the last few episodes, getting them the Veilstone arc, basically. Like, there's just 4 episodes of just them like nonstop talking and battling. So I'm like, yeah, let's just see what's going on here.
It's just a super at this point, because they haven't figured out the balance. It was the first time I thought, like, this is getting kind of weird. Like, we have this other plot of what you always do is steal Pokemon, and now suddenly we're having like this emotional weird moment with James.
Right. Well, they are stealing Pokemon still. Like, they got these Chingling. And
like,
this is I think this is the interesting part. When they're effective at what they're supposed to be doing, this is when you actually see that emotional side to them, at least in this episode.
Yeah. It just feels like James'
Like, just
emotional everything is like, it feels like it comes out of nowhere, right? Like,
I mean,
he doesn't sort of they don't really give him a much of a hint like he's really into this or he's thinking about his Chime Echo until this very moment. And
yeah.
it's like, oh, there was no setup for this. And I think that's my biggest problem with a lot of what they're doing for Team Rocket in this season is it never feels like they've set this up. It feels like, oh, surprise, we're going to do something with them.
Sure. Yeah, it kind of does come out of nowhere. And that's, I think, the part that bothers me the most as well, because what we see here is as they're talking about these Chimeco, or these, I'm about to say that, about these Chingling, and Jessie immediately falls in love with this rambunctious one that they've been trying to train, and he's like, "Hey, can I just make this my own?" And the rest of Team Rocket's like, "No, buddy, they're a group. Like we keep
Yeah.
the set together." And the reason he's like this is because it reminds him of his old Pokemon Chimeco, which he left with his grandparents. But the part that I think Greg was talking about here is that we're okay. We're 16 minutes into this episode, and James has not mentioned his Chimeco at all until this point.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
like, cut the pit trap scene and just be like, "Oh, I want this Pokemon because it's like my it'll become a Chimeco, like my Chimeco."
And it's like you could still have him have an inner monologue, which they've done before,
right?
Without him giving it away to Jessie and Meowth. Like, but him stealing it and running off because he misses his Chimeco, I was just like, where did this plot line come from?
Yeah.
And you've got literally 3 minutes left.
Yeah, it's a nice reference, but like maybe time it a little better,
or maybe make it the focus of the episode.
Yeah,
it's what's
it's
frustrating.
like a C plot now.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you don't have enough time to flesh these things out. You need to pick.
Right. Yeah. Like, so, there just had to have been some choice earlier, and maybe this is. It feels like it was just an add-on. It's like, oh yeah, James used to have a Chimeco,
and now he's obsessed with this one.
Right. So unfortunate, but we'll see how it pays off going forward. As Team Rocket's figuring out if Jessie can become part of the three-part harmony.
Yeah.
Which Meowth shuts down. A Chingling comes along, and they're like, "Oh, nice! James is sending back the Chingling to make amends with us." But they clearly are showing like how effective their Robo Chingling is,
even though it's not. Like, you look at it, you're like, "Oh, that's a robot." But again, this whole universe is for people who you put on a set of glasses and they think you're a different person.
It's all within the world. And Chingling, Mecha Chingling to be precise, opens up its mouth and lets out the smoke, which I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And our heroes are clearly watching from afar because Stareva found them, and no one's holding the remote though, so I don't know whose plan this was.
James?
Oh,
who knows?
Well, it was clearly one of them because they last had the Mecha Chimeco. Or the Mecha Chingling. I'm sorry, I keep saying it. So I'm guessing one of them also found the remote, and they're like, "Hey, let's use this to like to blow to cover Team Rocket in smoke, but not go in and rescue the Chingling, and just berate them."
Oh boy!
So not bad. You just forgot the last step there, guys. You're really close.
You almost had it.
Yeah, and they continue to do another harmony. And then immediately start fighting with each other. Then we get a quick battle as they're trying to figure out where the last Chingling is. But apparently that other Chingling did like run from Team Rocket and come over to them in the smoke. So I don't know, maybe they figured it out. Jessie sends out Dustox, and Ash sends out Chimchar. As Dustox goes in for a move, Chimchar just dodges quickly and flame wheels Jessie and Meowth out of there. And Dustox just kind of flies after them, which I found funny.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So that takes care of Team Rocket, but now they have to figure out where's the last Chingling. And it's with James, of course, who is trying to convince Chingling to become a part of Team Rocket, but it doesn't seem like it's quite interested enough. So he brings out his Mime Jr., who is the Pokemon that replaced his Chimeco in that last episode. And Chingling is trying to tell James is trying to tell Chingling, oh yeah, look at Mime Jr. Like, Mime Jr., can you try to convince Chingling? And Chingling's just like, no. So he says it's time for some tough love and uses teeter dance.
It's hardly tough love. It's
Yeah.
Hi, I'm just gonna make I'm gonna make you confused.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm like, are you
okay.
trying to catch it? I don't know.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm. But it does like leave it vulnerable for, I guess, Mime Jr. to go in for a double slap apparently. But our crew catches up with them, and Francesca just yells for Chingling to dodge. So tear dance was not very effective in the end. But then she goes in for another move and says to use hidden power and is able to hit Mime Jr. And then Mime Jr. responds with its own hidden power by mimicking Chingling's. But Francesca is able to finish them off by sending them flying using confusion. So James's heart is broken here as Chingling does not join him, but it looks like Chingling is growing up a bit from this, maturing, you might say.
Chingling is realizing I should stick with the person that doesn't try to beat me up all the time. Maybe I should listen and give up on this whole bad thing, because they'll if I don't, they'll keep sending things to come in and beat me up. So we're good. I'm good.
Getting over my rebellious phase.
I'm getting over my rebellious phase. You've beaten it out of me. Game on.
Hey, no Chingling were hurt in the making of this episode, to be fair. Except for the razor leaf, I guess.
Except for the razor leaf and the teeter dance.
Hey, teeter dance does no damage. It just traumatizes you.
Yeah, that's damage. Let's talk to Chimchar about damage.
Hey, if we talk about that as damage, then maturing does come from battle. And this is the moment where they kind of show like, oh, Chingling's matured because it's asking for consent to hug.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's not terrible, but it could be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a cute moment where like, oh, okay, now like we hug and it's not like I'm annoyed and you're just being rambunctious. It's like more heartfelt.
It's still a weird ending.
Sure. And as we talk about endings, Chingling all say goodbye with their 3-part harmony again. And everyone's back on the road with Francesca using a suitcase on wheels on this dirt road.
Yep.
So that happens.
Goodbye, Francesca. We shall never see you again.
She immediately just gets arrested for being a phony at the next performance.
It all goes downhill.
Yeah. And that's where we wrap.
I feel like Dawn should have played a bigger part. Like putting on shows, contests. Like I felt like it was weird for them to go to Ash when it was like Dawn's right there and does performance stuff.
Dawn scolds Ash for most of it. So
I mean, that's
yeah, like Dawn's moment here was the Chic magazine and the vest, but like that didn't lead to anything. It kind of just shows some other stuff later on, but it is a little odd that this is where they introduce it. It just mixes up Baniri's look a bit, I guess, but not much else.
Yeah, Baneri looked cute, and I think it wears that. I think it wears that outfit a number of times.
Oh yeah,
forward.
It loves that outfit, and it's gonna keep it going. I don't know if they just want to normalize Baniri wearing it because all the Chingling have like a little bandana around their ear thing, but that pretty much wraps up the bells are singing. So, Greg, what would you rate this episode of Diamond and Pearl Battle Dimension?
5.
Okay.
I mean, it's pure filler.
Mm-hmm.
I give it points because they're trying to do something with Team Rocket, even though they're doing it weirdly. Like, oh hey, we're gonna start adding these things in, and there were some. I mean, there were some solid Like the year flat point made me
Yeah.
laugh, and that's like the only time I've laughed in probably in a long time at Pokemon. It is definitely a filler episode, and not much happens in it, except I give them some points for like, okay, we have these characters, we should do something with them. I just don't think they've figured out the balance yet to make it feel like, okay, you know what you're doing. I don't think they get there for a bit, but like they're trying.
Yeah, I think this episode does a lot of great things in the middle of each of their plot points, but doesn't do a great job ending them or starting them very effectively. Like with the Mecha Chingling, and like clearly someone from our side, the heroes, found a way to control it, but they don't explain that or like show a satisfying end to it. With James and Chimecho, that also like it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but you didn't logically lead us up to that moment. And like it was still surprisingly better than I remember this episode. I will say that. So with all that in mind, I think I'd give this like a 6.5 out of 10. Honestly, pretty good and maybe even better than the average filler episode. But that is it for The Bells Are Singing, so let's move on to the next episode. Give me one moment because
something.
yeah, Bulbapedia has some weird numbering going on here because of another thing that we'll talk about eventually. But the next episode is called Crossing Paths, and that's probably the most straightforward title we've gotten. Dazzled by dreams of success, Jessie and Dustox train on the shores of a beautiful mountain lake. Jessie's Dustox is then distracted by an unfamiliar Dustox, one that belongs to Austin, a trainer who tells Jessie about the Dustox crossing. At this time of year, Dustox pair off over the lake and migrate over Mount Cornet. And after hearing this, Jessie's Dustox is obviously in love with Austin's Dustox, and Jessie begins to muse on her past. So, again, I think no cold opening here.
Nope.
They just kind of find this lake.
Yeah, they find this lake.
Oh, there's a cute beginning though. We have Piplup and Pikachu. I think they caught some show tune vibes. And are just like waddling along and singing, which is adorable.
And then Piplup stops and Piplup's hungry. I'm like, feed
yeah. Hey, Piplup's Pikachu's not hungry though, so I don't know. Maybe just Piplup's
Dawn.
Oh, do you think Dawn's at fault here?
Get it together, Dawn.
Hey, it's ultimately Brock's the one who feeds them. Let's be real.
Get it together, Brock.
Piplup's just craving the munchies, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's go to this Pokemon Center up ahead." But don't even give Piplup a snack.
Nah. I mean, it's not that far away. Also, the Pokemon Center is gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
like this is the place to spend your life.
Right. Hey, that's what Nurse Joy was like. That's mine. I'm gonna work here now.
Yeah, this is my spot. I'm the best Nurse Joy, so I get my choice.
She rigged some sort of selection process, clearly. And then we cut to Team Rocket, who's nearby, and Jessie's like, yeah, you guys go work on the Planet Steel Pokemon. I'm gonna work on my coordinator stuff. Bye.
I'm out. Peace out.
Yeah. Like, you go, team. I'll catch you later. Just like the ultimate group project mentality.
Yep. And then Jessie... I mean, Jessie's actually fairly serious.
Yeah.
In this, which is nice. Like, again, like this is sort of how you should do making Team Rocket more of a character, right? Like, pick a group to focus on and like really show that, like give them things to do.
Yeah, like in terms of, I think also making it more of an arc. What we saw last time with James when he, the last big moment for him at the beginning of the season was releasing Cacnea, and he still felt bad the next episode very clearly.
Right.
But this one, like, they don't mention the Chingling at all, which I was like, oh, like, that would have been nice.
No.
The most reference we get is Pikachu and Piplup, actually. But as she brings out Dustox, it has some new accessories on its head, like its little ear antennae thing, which are supposed to match her outfit as she dresses as Jesselina. She's just confident that the fact that they're matching, instant 10 for the judges when she's competing in the contest. As she's distracted by this daydream is when we get the Dustox flying off and finding an interestingly colored Dustox, which I forgot to check, but do you know if that's the shiny?
Yeah, it's the shiny form.
That is okay. Okay.
The Dustox has brownish wings and
So
blue
it
body.
like looks more like a real moth, I'm assuming. Is the
Yeah, it
point.
looks like
Okay.
a real.
And they immediately start twirling in the air when Jessie finds them. Subtitles say playful, so that we're keeping it PG.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Playful.
And it also says Dustox X2 playful. So they're both very playful here. And they're like scales/spore things form a little heart, which Jesse's like, oh, something weird's going on there. When Austin comes out from behind the tree and it's like, oh, hey, I also just followed my Dustox here.
Yeah.
And immediate flashbacks for Jessie.
Yep. And this is the thing that they do in anime
Mm-hmm.
that makes me crazy.
Oh, what part? Oh, okay. I think I have an idea of what you're about to say.
Yeah.
Because the flashback she has is of someone who looks exactly like this guy.
Exactly like this guy, and has almost the same name.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
Right.
Like, this doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see people who are like, oh, you remind me of,
Mm-hmm.
but there are differences.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like, well, we don't want to animate another character. Also, we don't want to come up with another name.
Yeah. Probably. When you put it that way, it's even worse, actually.
And I just hate it. They do it a lot. They do it a lot in anime where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're the spitting image of somebody from my past. And I'm like, how? Did they have another child? Is
You're a
this their
twin?
brother? Are they
Yeah.
twins?
Mm-hmm. And
It's a trope that I am not fond of, and they do it really. They like lean into it hardcore in this one.
yeah, this is, well, to be fair, Jessie herself is part of this trope
Yeah,
because of Jessabella, I
Jesselina.
think. No,
Yeah,
Jesselina's
Jezebel. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Also, like, that makes me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. I just hate it. It's such a weird and tired trope, and it's rarely funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more like
It's just
weird.
so on the nose.
Yeah,
And like,
and
I
like
think
the Jezebel thing adds a whole level of weirdness to
oh,
Jesse and James' relationship that I just have never liked.
so not to get too off topic there here, but I think it's kind of interesting because we never really see that come up. Like, I don't even know if it's really that implied that that resemblance has something to do with James. If anything, like, James doesn't like Jezebel at all.
Right.
So the fact they worked along Jesse is kind of showing his
Weird.
fortitude more.
It's weird. It adds up until that point. You're like, okay, they're all friends together, and then it's like, oh, he's running away from her
Doppelganger?
doppelganger to spend all of his time with a different version of her who
Well,
has a better personality. Like, it's so weird to be like, oh,
Mhm.
that exact duplicate we hate, so I'm going to spend all of my life with her twin,
Mhm.
and I'm never going to think about how that's weird.
Well, in
Ever.
in like the origin episode for like them meeting for the first time, they're just kind of assigned to the same team. So I just gonna kind of give it leeway there. But
Yeah,
I wish it was mentioned though.
like, oh hey, you look exactly like this woman I'm literally running away
Okay,
from.
but if you had someone in your life like that, would you ever tell someone? Because
I
my
wouldn't
maybe
spend time with them. I'd be like,
what?
no, this
Even
is
if it
this is reopening trauma every time I have to deal with this person.
Oh, yeah. But also, like, if you're in the workplace, you're not just gonna be like, I'm gonna leave, bye, forever.
It is barely a workplace. It they barely work.
Uh-huh.
They are a criminal organization.
Hey, they have
They
HR
are
policies too.
they are the mob.
Oh man.
It's just
Um,
it is weird then and it's weird now. Anyways, back to this episode.
yes, the only ones mobbing here are the Dustox, as Austin explains that every time, once a year, our Dustox meet at this lake and decide to pair off with each other because it's mating season. They don't say it. I'm gonna call it. It's just
Yeah,
mating season.
it's mating season.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
also a very problematic mating season.
how come?
Okay. They are watching this storm come in.
Uh-huh.
A natural thing. And then the implication
Oh.
is if anything happens to this lake, they will not go and start families, and an entire generation of Dustox will be wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if your mating ritual depends on one lake, you're at
Mm.
an evolutionary dead end.
I feel like there's multiple lakes though. This is just like one of many.
They make it like, oh god,
Sure.
it's gonna ruin everything forever. It's like, well, technically, this is a Hoenn Pokemon, so
Yeah, like why are you here?
why are they all
Invasive
here?
species.
And do they ship all the Wurmple to Hoenn? Like, how does this
Hey,
work?
hey, honey trees have Wurmple, and I don't know why, but that's a thing in Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. So they gotta come from somewhere. This is it, apparently.
This
Also, like, where the Beautifly? Like, do they do the opposite? Are they like summer and daytime?
Beautifly goes to a cave.
Oh, okay. And string up their victims with the
Yeah,
string shot.
yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah. So they talk about this romantic moment, and Austin's very accepting. Is like, oh yeah, I think all her dust talks are gonna go and do this also.
I mean, props to Austin for being like, yeah, I'm gonna give up the shiny. It only probably took me 500 resets to find it.
Yeah. What do you think about this shiny just being here?
I mean, they've introduced shinies before
Hmm.
without ever saying what they are. And matter of fact, they never say the word shiny until the Sun and Moon anime. So
Well, yes, they have. Noctowl probably being the most prominent one. They actually in the episode I was rewatching, someone says it's a shiny colored Pokemon
yeah,
in Sinnoh, actually.
but they
Um,
never call them shiny.
right, not straight up
Like,
shiny. They get close,
right,
but it's not
they
until
get
Sun and
close,
Moon. Hmm.
but they always say like, "Oh, it's a shining color," which
Hmm.
Dustox isn't. It's dull.
Yeah,
But yeah, they don't actually use the phrase shiny until
right.
Sun and Moon, which is weird. But it's fine because like
Hmm.
you wouldn't. You'd be like, "Oh, it's an alternate color of an animal." Like we don't see.
Yeah,
I don't see a white squirrel and go, "Ooh, shiny white
shiny.
squirrel." Like I like,
uh,
oh, it's a white squirrel,
we should
or
start
it's
doing
the all
that.
black squirrel.
And as they walk off, Jesse's like, "They're like twins." Like she straight up says it, and um, looks up into the sky as these Pidgey are also migrating. So nature's doing its thing at this lake apparently. Um, and they have a heart to heart little moment between Dustox and Jessie besides the lake, where she's like, "All right, spill the beans. You're into that Dustox, aren't you?" And Dustox's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." I was like, "Okay, okay, I get it."
If there ever was a time for Meowth Be there to
Yeah.
translate. This is the first one of the episode. It's more frustrating later when
Hmm.
Meowth is there.
Don't mind
Anyway.
it too much though. Like in the last episode where we got Cacnea leaving James, Meowth was a big presence in that, and I felt like it kind of undercut the interactions that were going on between the two. So I think it could have been used a little more this episode, but I'm glad it wasn't used to the extent that it was in that past one. Jesse's like, yeah, I'm guessing it's the season of love for Dustox, and we get the whole flashback of her being part of relevant now of like a K-pop group basically, with two friends of hers who were training to become idols basically. And she's a very different hairstyle in this when she was younger.
Yeah, I mean, given.
Sure. I immediately thought when I saw their hair colors, it's like, oh, they're gonna become magical girls,
Yeah, I mean they should have.
right? That'd be
interesting.
the real anime here.
Bring it on
And
into that.
they're meeting in the locker room, and she's like, all right, there's only 3 things I need to make sure this all goes well. It's like, I'm not asking for much. No fattening desserts for me. Purity, truth, and beauty, and no romance,
No romance
ever.
ever. Okay, I mean you're what at this point 5?
Yeah, what are they, like 8 years old
They're
here?
like 8. They have to be like 8. And the fact
Uh-huh.
that like no romance ever, that's what every child says. Because you're a child.
Hmm.
And that's gross because you don't know how it works.
Yeah. But immediately we cut to this gorgeous scene of her walking alongside someone else with a sunset in the background. And it looks pretty good, actually. I don't know why the animation team's like, yeah, just like make really pretty shots this episode. And it's someone called Aston.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Austin.
It's Aston.
Though they're
character.
exactly alike. In every feasible way. Like to the atom, probably.
Yeah. Cloning exists. It wasn't just Mewtwo.
Yeah, he was
they
actually
first started on Aston.
Yeah, he was a prototype.
Yep. You thought Mewtwo was from Mew. It wasn't. Mewtwo was a hyper enhanced clone of Aston.
Like several generations later.
Well, they tried to give it powers, and then
Sabrina came out, and they're like, "Oh, let's not go that way." Here, he asks Jessie, "Is like, you have your audition coming up, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do. Someday I want to be a top coordinator." So we're kind of retconning some history here for her.
They've retconned a lot of history.
Yeah.
It's very fluid. It's the Simpsons rules.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Just go with it.
Just whatever.
Though
sure.
Manny would be very upset. And you know why?
Why?
Because in the previous episode with Hapini, we get a direct reference to her bonding with a Blissey. And
right.
wanting to go to Pokemon nursing school. She even has the half of the locket that she split with that Blissey, which is very interesting.
I mean, I wanted to be a vet.
Yeah,
when I was a child, and that remended because I realized what that job was, and I said no.
Oh, okay. Well, let's not go there today. But here, as Aston's like, "Hey, yeah, I want to be a top coordinator too, and you should come with me." Jesse's like, and he says, "Yeah, think of it together. We'd be great." But Jessie remembers her vows to her besties. And she's like, "You see, my audition date is set, so I can't come with you, unfortunately. But once I debut and I get cast, I'm a sure thing in showbiz, so don't worry about me. We're both going to be big successes in our own right."
Oh, 10-year-old. I can't see a future with us two together. I'm following my 8-year-old dreams.
And the audition day comes. Her friends make the cut, but she does not.
They didn't even show why. They didn't even show it. They didn't show the aftermath.
Yeah, like those friends just like immediately stopped talking to her. Clearly,
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, well, you're a loser. We made it. We made it despite of you."
Yeah, right. You were holding us back. And this is where we cut to present day Jessie, where she's like, "Hey, maybe things would have gone differently if I had gone with Aston that day." So, like, overall, I don't hate it, except for the whole he's basically a clone of her part. The fact that Austin and Aston are exact replicas. But it's nice that she has something motivating her here in terms of what she thinks Dustox should do.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're pondering what's going on here, the storms picks up and a bolt of lightning comes down and strikes a tree next to her, which Dustox saves her from with a dramatic tackle to the side.
Yeah.
And this part still, I'm like looking at the scene, and somehow this causes part of the lake to collapse. I think the tree was like the roots were holding up some rock or something. But suddenly a lot of the lake just starts pouring down into a field below, and Jesse's unconscious.
Which happens. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, like we're taking a lot of leaps already with how nature works.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly nature in the Pokemon world, because things break through rocks and people stand by lava all the time and nothing happens. It's weird. But this is really when the whole story started going off the rails for me. Was them and the stress about a lake.
Right. As we cut back to the Pokemon Center, they're all watching the storm, unaware of what's going on there. Brock tries to dance next to their shore or something. Krogunk immediately takes care of that. And as he's being dragged off, it is kind of fun that we see Krogunk walking the opposite direction of Austin, who comes running in and is like, "Hey, Nurse Joy, there's an issue with the." Oh wait, actually, before that moment, Brock immediately recovers.
Yep.
And Don's like, "Oh boy, you're back already." This is when Nurse Joy explains to them what the crossing is about, because they didn't hear about it. Only Jessie knows.
Only Jessie knows. So we need to fill them in.
Exactly. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's such a romantic moment." And Ash is like, "Okay, but what do they do that? Like, why?
Why? I'm 10. Why?
Why do they let go of my
Why?
Butterfree?"
I let my Butterfree go, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I never found out, even though Battlefrontier kind of promised me that. So as she's explaining this, that like Dustox will go to the other side of Mount Coronet and start families. We get a seductive Brock kind of like sliding into the frame next to her, but before he can say anything, Krogunk immediately like off screen.
Krogunk's like G-rated show, buddy. G-rated show.
It's great. Like we know immediately what's happening. And Krogunk's getting pulled. Krogunk is pulling Brock off to the side. And Austin comes running in, saying like, "Nurse Joy, there's something wrong." Some of the trees around the lake have been struck by lightning and water's overflowing. And then we get a little dream sequence for Jessie, who is remembering her decision to not go with Aston, and thinks about how it might have gone a different way if she said yes, only to be woken up by Wobbuffet, of course. Team Rocket is next to her, and they're like, "Hey, are you all right?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, it's okay. Dustox saved me." So just a sweet moment there. And that's when she explains the plot to them, basically.
Yeah.
Which is like, "Oh yeah, look at all this water coming down. So if this keeps happening, the Dustox aren't going to be able to mate." And this is what worries Jessie the most out of them, clearly. This is a great little conversation between them, actually. So she's explaining to James that, like, that's her, like, we skip over the exposition, thankfully, but she does say, like, "Oh yeah, like," James says, "You're just gonna let Dustox go?" Yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, the old saying goes, life is short, and Dustox deserves to find love after all." And Meowth is immediately on board. It's like, "Yeah, true to love, the better it is," which I'm like, yes.
I altered my life for the elf that dumped me for a Persian, and
Yeah.
I've started a life of crime. But hey, I believe in love.
He's hopeful. He's a hopeless romantic at heart. And James again is like, "Are you sure? Like, you raised your Dustox from a worm bowl. Think of all the EVs it has."
Right.
Um, and she's like, "Yeah, that's what makes it even all the more special. Like Dustox deserves to find happiness and true love after getting to spend all that time together, and you only get one chance, so you better grab it." And this motivates everyone to be like, "Yeah, let's go and help repair the lake for Dustox." So that's what they end up doing. But yeah, I just really like that moment actually.
Yeah, I mean it's a good little moment.
Yeah, and then we cut to our heroes coming down, and they're like, "Oh shoot, the lake's falling up down. The lake is falling apart, basically."
Yeah.
Austin feels kind of sad about it, and Nurse Joy actually is just like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, Austin. Things don't look that good." But it's Ash of all people who runs off and is like, "I'm gonna see if we can do something about this." Would you have liked to Ash have just accepted this? The fact that like, hey, it doesn't look like the crossing will happen this year because the lake is disrupted and just due to natural causes.
I mean, it's natural causes. Like
Mhm.
again, fine, fix
Yeah.
it. But at the same time, it's like let's create more natural disasters while we try to fix it. Because we're gonna take this entire side of
Mm.
snowpack and melt it
Yeah.
for the weirdest reason of the water level needs to be at a certain point to reflect the moon, right? Okay,
Mhm.
if your mating ritual requires that a certain water level happen as well, a thing that literally changes every year, you all deserve to die out because that doesn't make sense. That's not how water works. That's not how reflections work. It is the weirdest made up plot point. It's like, oh no, it has to be at this exact level at this exact time. I'm like,
Not
how have they never died out?
I feel like it's not the fact that it's exact level, it's that it just has to be a minimum height. And
Hey,
I can see that being like the natural dust ducks in the area would be like unsure if this is their lake or something because they're not used to such a dramatic drop compared to probably other years where it doesn't fluctuate this
are
much.
they intelligent creatures or not?
Yes, that's see, you're not wrong in the fact that they probably shouldn't have made it this far in evolution, but that's what we got.
It is such a bizarre thing. It's like, oh no, it has to be a perfect ideal lake the entire time, or they'll never make this crossing bridge. Which is like,
Mhm.
this is all made up stress. Like this is all
Yeah,
them just being like, we have nothing to do tonight,
there's a
so let's
conflict.
let's pretend it's about this lake
Mhm.
because this is it's so pointless. And then they're like, oh, all the water has formed a natural lake down at the bottom, which is
Okay.
how lakes happen.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a huge giant lake down at the bottom. It's 5 feet away.
I
That
was thinking that too. Yeah.
like use that lake to reflect the moon because that's what water does.
Mm,
But no, they're like, okay, now we're gonna do this thing where we're gonna use confusion to lift up an entire lake.
It's a lot of water.
I mean, millions of pounds of water, and then we're gonna use whirlwind to
Mhm.
then push it back into the lake up here from down there.
Yeah. But before that, they stop the leak by using all these rocks, boulders to like fill it in, and then I mean, in their defense, I think they're getting pretty creative with this, even if it's not the the most natural of conflicts to come across here. where they plug it up with the rocks and then use water to saturate them, and then have Ice Beam fill in the holes here and like condense it all together.
What happens when the ice melts?
Hey, it's not that much ice, apparently.
Because that thing is going to crash, and you have temporarily solved the problem.
That's true. Yeah, this issue's gonna come up in like a week or
And
two.
at the end of this evening, when the ice melts.
Yeah. They'll leave someone else to fix it. Whoever comes here from anime next time.
They'll just send in the anime fixers. Be like,
Yeah.
oh, we gotta keep this dead end of an evolution still living by fixing their lake.
Suiku or something will show up. I swear.
Boy.
And yeah, that's when they then do the confusion whirlwind. Which honestly, the first time I watched this episode, I was like, what? But this time I kind of liked it, and I don't know why.
That's not how either of those powers work, but okay.
What do you mean? What's the part here that's not
like? If you can lift an entire stream of water into a spout with confusion, you do not need whirlwind to push it.
My assumption is that
put it in.
They're kind of just holding it when they use confusion, and you have to like chuck it every time. So with whirlwind, you just funnel it up to save time, is my assumption.
That's also not how whirlwind works.
Why not?
Because the inside's dead. It's a dead zone. That's why it's safe to be in the center of a hurricane. And if it's a tornado, it's going to spread the water literally everywhere.
Hey, confusion helps with that. It actually reverses the physics.
Then just use confusion.
No, we can't have that.
It's like, okay, fine, whatever.
Jesse's Dustox has to do something else here.
Yeah,
and it clearly didn't learn any useful moves with Jessie. So it's got Psybeam, Whirlwind, and like Poison Instinct to choose from. Hey, it looks pretty though. I'll give it that.
It's a cute effect.
Yeah,
it's just dumb.
Yeah, you're dropping some things here, but they get it over just in time as the lake begins doing its like gorgeous reflection. Honestly, kind of. Okay, this is weird. Then it cuts to like the next day, basically, which I was like, oh, we're just gonna wait, I guess. As moon is shining on the lake, everyone's getting ready to say goodbye, and it's just a beautiful sight. Which I'm like, okay, could the lake down there not do the same thing? I guess
exactly. Apparently not.
And as Jessie looks at Austin and his Dustox, she starts preparing to say goodbye to hers. They start twirling in the night, going away, until Dustox has a moment of doubt and comes back to Jessie. And Jessie here is saying, yeah, you like that Dustox, right? You gotta go with it. And Dustox kind of comes in for a hug, but she's like, no, don't worry about me. You gotta move it. Or this is your one chance. Do not miss it. Something to blow it. I don't remember the lyrics. And then we get the final flashback of her standing with Aston at the bus days before her audition. And Aston gets on the bus saying like, yeah, we'll meet each other one day. I'm going to be top coordinator. And she runs after the bus crying.
She's 8.
Yeah. Hey, how would you feel if you were 8 watching the show and you saw that?
I mean, Jiminy.
And as she remembers that, she's like, no, Dustox, you have to do this. But Dustox's like, no, I've like changed my mind. I think I want to stay with you. And she shows its Pokeball to it, saying, hey, this is your Pokeball. You know that, right? Drops it on the floor. And the rest of Team Rocket's like, Jessie, what are you doing? Which I'm like, you know what she's doing. Like, it doesn't matter if she does this or not. This is for like symbolism.
I feel like this is the point where Meowth should have maybe stepped in and been like, let's talk about this, because Jessie is straight up refusing to understand Dustox's feelings.
Yeah.
And is like mean about it, which it's like that whole thing, like, you know, the old send the dog away, go on, nobody wants you here, go on, because it's for your own good. And I'm like, you have a translator.
Yeah.
Like,
Meowth is not utilized as well as he should be.
just fix it. And instead it's like this weirdly angry, I'm gonna smash your Pokeball so you have no choice moment, which is really not cool. Because it's a terrible way to say goodbye after seeing how much fun you had together.
Yeah.
And like she's super sad when Dustox
does fly off.
does finally leave, and I'm like, this was awful. Like, this was the worst way to do this. Especially when you have Meowth, who actually is with your team, sitting right there.
Yeah, I don't know why Meowth... I don't know why they did it for the Cacnea episode, but not for this one. But here they go and form the Golden Arch as they fly over Mount Cornet. Austin is not one bit like saddened by this, seemingly, as he lets go of a shiny. They take off, and that's pretty much it. Narrator saying, "True friendship is forever. Life takes unexpected turns, but the everlasting bond between Pokemon and trainer makes love like this possible," which does contrast weirdly with the Pokeball scene.
Yeah.
But that is it for episode 19 of Battle Dimension, titled again Crossing Paths. Yeah, what would you rate this episode?
I mean, it's a solid 7 because it does a lot of good things with Jessie up until the end.
Yeah.
Like, they actually sort of show more sides to Jessie, albeit in a sort of weird way. And then the ending is so, like...
It's so close to me.
It's so close. It's also so tropey. Like, it's such a weird trope, especially... Like, it kind of works when you can't talk to the animal and you're trying to scare it away because emotions are the only thing you have, except you have Meowth right there.
Right.
And it can clearly understand you.
Yeah.
It is a one-way communication that they seem to understand, but you can't understand them back. But you could because you have Meowth there. So, like, it hits a bunch of really good notes. It's like a really good arc for Jessie until the super weird ending. And like the plot convenience theater of the lake has to be at this level, and the moon has to hit it just right for this entire group of Dustox who are nowhere to be seen until 5 minutes before this thing happens. How'd they get here? How'd they know the moon cycle? Why were they not in the trees? Did they all fly in the middle? Like, oh, it's that level of the moon tonight, so we got to go find that lake.
Right.
It's just such the crisis in this is such plot convenience theater, and the reactions to it is really like plot convenience theater. That really takes it down for me, because it could have been a really nice episode without that about Jessie and Dustox. And they could have had like, oh, there's a natural disaster, like, you know, the Poke Center is in trouble and they all have to work together.
Yeah.
Like, I get that they wanted to show that Jessie could work together with the twerps, but like, not like this. This is just dumb. It is a dumb reason, and it is handled not well.
Right. Like, the two big points that I think bring it down for me are the whole Austin Aston thing.
Yeah, which, well...
Yeah, and Jessie's Pokeball. I would have liked if they had shown all the Dustox before and maybe say, like, hey, look, the Dustox aren't coming.
Or they're leaving. Or the Dustox are leaving. We need to, like, something to be a direct result, like, oh, it must not be what they want. Something from them other than we assume it has to be at this exact level. And then...
Right. Yeah, just a little more, like, very clear evidence for them to act upon. At the end, it does kind of feel like we just really want to show all of the heroes Pokemon do stuff,
Yeah.
which is fun, but it's the Jessie episode. Might as well like let Team Rocket have that
Yeah.
moment.
It's still the fact that they don't know what their focus wants to be. And they're still
Right.
trying to split it amongst a bunch of people. And this one handles it better because it's a lot about Jessie and her
Mhm.
weird past.
Yeah.
And the other kids are just there like, hey, we should check in with the main characters.
Right.
But like they have yet to understand that you don't have to check in with the main
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
Like you can do like Jessie and James are main characters. They have been a part of the show since Ash was a part of the show.
Well, since episode 2, but yeah.
Like they have been there the entire time. You can cut away to them and just have an episode be about them, and it's fine.
Yeah. Like I would have loved if after this Jessie starts like practicing combinations and Dustox's timing is off or rhythm, and that's like when she starts to really realize like, oh, Dustox is really in love here. It's not just
Yeah.
like I'll take it at that one encounter and that's it. So just a weird choices of where it went. I still really enjoy it, but it could have been just so good. Like though where it is, I will say I kind of like it better than Bye Bye Butterfree, which is to me is the natural comparison here.
Yeah.
And it
I
could
don't
just
know.
be this is like years later. They're like these are more refined characters at some level. Probably like just animation wise and production wise, it's better. Um, but I mean, there's definitely parallels here, and it's the fact that there's no real villain is probably also a strong point, except that they kind of make
Yeah.
nature the villain. With all that said, I think I'll also give it a 7. Still pretty solid for
It's a
what they.
solid episode that
Mhm.
takes a top couple of real weird missteps.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. So, uh, as I look down in the trivia for some stuff, this is the first time a main character purposefully damages the Pokeball of one of their Pokemon. So, first there also in a flashback. Apparently, Jessie's hairstyle is shown to be similar to her mother's, Miyamoto.
Mm.
So I don't even know where we've seen her mother, but apparently we have at some point. This is the first episode to feature a shiny Pokemon in Diamond and Pearl. So that's, I mean, I guess that's pretty believable actually when you
Yeah.
think about it.
I mean, they don't show them often. It's a 1 in 5,000 chance at this point that you'd see one.
Yeah, like this is one of the very few shinies just overall in the series. But speaking of that, question of the week: what's a shiny you would like to see in the anime that we haven't seen so far?
What shinies have we seen?
I could.
I mean, I
maybe
think there's Noctowl
Yeah.
and Dustox.
There's more, I swear. Didn't like go. Oh, there was that. Was it like Farfetch or something in Journeys?
I mean, in the recent one, there's the shiny collector dude
Right. Exactly.
who showed a couple.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, I can guess what yours is, but if there's just one in particular that would be cool to see in the anime.
I want to see a shiny Pikachu and Ash be like, that one's more special. Get out. I'm switching up.
Your time's done. Oh, we've seen Lance. Lance's Gyarados.
Oh yeah. Well, that doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Hey! Oh, you're one of those, are you?
There, you got it. You got it for free. All right. Here is a list. Here's
Okay.
a list on Cerebi. There was a shiny Pikachu
Yes.
once.
Mm-hmm.
Shiny Psyduck, which I remember. Shiny Magneton. Nobody cares about that.
Shuckle.
Uh,
Swallow.
Shiny Gengar. Shiny Onyx. Shiny
Magikarp.
Magikarp. Gyarados. Shiny
Donphan.
Ditto. Dragonair.
Oh, we see
Noctowl.
We see shiny Metagross. That's actually a cool one.
Oh yeah, Ariados, Pichu, Shuckle, Donphan, Raikou, Entei, Suicune, shiny Celebi, shiny Dustox, shiny Gardevoir.
Hydreigon. Oh wait, Gardevoir, really? Oh, okay.
There's a shiny Golurk? Huh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shiny Charjabug. I remember that one.
There's multiple shiny Metagross actually.
Yeah, shiny Guzzlord, really?
I guess. Maybe it was to promote the distribution or something.
Probably.
So decent amount actually.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, any of them would make plot sense. It would be wild if they had a shiny starter, right? Like Ash goes there is like, oh, this one's unusual.
Yeah, and then he just like adds it. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think I said this one last episode. So, well, yeah, I won't say that one. So we've seen like Kecleon, and people assume the purple Kecleon's the shiny, but it's not. So I'd like to see like a proper shiny Kecleon.
Well, you probably have. It's just been invisible.
No, because it's the stripe that doesn't go invisible whenever it changes colors, and that's how you can tell if the shiny is. So, haha, fun fact.
It's completely invisible in Snap.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's Snap not canon then. Get it out of here. Hey, it's invisible in Go too because we haven't seen it. It's been like 3 years.
There. It's there. We just haven't found it yet. Just start throwing Pokeballs at random places.
I've been doing that too. Yeah, what's on your list? Is it not shiny Roselia?
I mean, I would like to, but they never would use it properly, so I don't want them to mess that up.
Oh,
it needs to be something that sticks around. So like a starter or one of the birds that Ash always gets and sticks with forever, even though you just shove that in a box and move down with your life.
Wouldn't that just be a repeat of Noctowl, though?
I mean, the anime never repeats.
Sure, but like for that long, I get like one-off episodes, but I don't know.
Maybe the next anime, whatever it's going to be for Gen 9, that brings back contests.
Yeah.
The female tag-along sub-in for May will have a shiny something.
Okay. Yeah, I can go with that.
May 2.
So June.
Also May is what they call her.
Mayday is her name.
Or they'll introduce Dusk, who looks a lot like Dawn.
Stop!
Has a switched color palette.
Hey, this is not the last episode where we see doppelgangers this season. Putting out there. But yeah, that is pretty much it for us this episode. So Greg, thank you so much for coming along here in this wacky 2-pair that, I mean, at least for me, I thought were going to be a lot worse than they were.
Yeah, I mean, they're still weird filler episodes, but they're better filler episodes than that they're actually trying to do something with the secondary characters.
Right. Yeah, that's the big thing, is that
like it saves it from being worthless because they do some character development, just not with who you expect.
Exactly. And I think that's where I really put a filler episode in, or an episode into that category, is like where literally no one is affected in any way. And there's like no natural motivation for like what happens there. Which is, I think, a lot of episodes where they're just like, we need to show one of the new Pokemon this season.
Yes.
And that's it. Yeah. So
it's like the only reason why this is happening because you want to show off blah.
The new Pokemon in this gen. But like
Shinx.
Honestly, what? Oh,
like Shinx.
I've been fairly impressed by how they've managed to do it organically, this in Battle Dimension so far. Like with B-Barrel, it was a whole plot about like architecture fraud and engineering and stuff like that. As they try to build a bridge, and B-Barrel's like, no, we can't do that because it's gonna fall apart. And the engineer knows that, but it's a whole thing. Pretty good episode, in my opinion. But yeah, if people want to find you, where can they go ahead and do that?
Easiest place to find me is on Twitter @WhiteWing.
As always, you can go ahead and check out these episodes of Pokemon TV on the website for Pokemon.com, the mobile app, and most recently on your Switch.
Yeah, wild.
I was not expecting it. I noticed earlier this week they added junior shorts to that, and I was like, why? But now it's like, oh, that makes sense.
You're putting it on the
Uh,
Switch. Gotcha.
yeah. What do you think about that, actually?
I mean, it is. Pokemon is a big seller on the Switch,
Mhm.
and I'm sure parents are like, "Oh, you already have a Switch. Just watch it there, and not on my
Yeah.
phone or my iPad."
Yeah.
Like it makes sense to have it there. Like I don't.
Mhm.
People are like, "Oh, this before Netflix." I'm like,
Yes.
but Netflix you have to pay for,
Right.
and they have to pay for,
Mm-hmm.
and the app developed by the Pokemon Company that they already have a contract
Built.
with is like an
Mhm.
easy sell, right? Like, oh, we'll just port this app you've already built over,
Right.
and you curate the content, and it meets, it fits right in line with everything that we do. Like, I don't know why people were like this before Netflix. I'm like, duh.
Yeah, I kind of thought of that as a joke, but I'm like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. If a kid just like doesn't want to play Pokemon but like wants to learn more about the world or something, you can just pull up the anime on your Switch. A parent clearly developed this because they don't want to have their kid use their iPad for everything.
Yep.
And while you can't download it like you can with mobile devices, like if you're just at home and the kid wants to watch something but the TV's busy, like this is great. Like use the Switch in a portable way as well. Like the Wii U tablet or something. Where like you could play games even if you didn't have the TV screen available. I'm excited just because it gives more people ways to watch it. Because I think even people didn't know that this was on most mobile devices for the last like 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a fun thing there. By the time you've heard this, hopefully you've discovered the Pokemon TVs on your Switch. So go ahead and do that. And also go ahead and subscribe or like and comment down below about what you thought about these episodes. What China you'd like to see in the anime that we haven't seen already. And check out any other episodes that we've done to review Diamond and Pearl here. But as always, I've been Will.
I'm Greg.
And we'll see you in Sinnoh. Have a good one.
Bye.